The asteroid belt is a morgue. Between the rusted dust of Mars and the crushing gravity of Jupiter, millions of rocks float in the silence. They are the shattered bones of planets that never were. Cold, dry, dead. For 2 centuries, astronomers looked into this graveyard and saw only debris. And for decades, we thought this world was just the largest corpse in the pile. A frozen brick of stone and ice, drifting in the graveyard shift of the solar system. It has no atmosphere to speak of. It has no giant planet to squeeze it. It has no star to warm it. But we were wrong. When we finally got close enough to look, we didn't find a dead rock. We found a world that is bleeding light. By all the laws of physics, this world should be frozen solid. It should be a relic, but it has a pulse. This is Ceres, and it is not a rock. It is a zombie. To understand why this is so disturbing, you have to understand the rules of the outer solar system. Heat is life, and out here, past the frost line, heat is the ultimate luxury. Worlds like Europa or Enceladus cheat death because they have massive partners. Jupiter and Saturn grab them with gravity and squeeze them, kneading their cores like dough to keep them warm. They are alive because they are being tortured. But Ceres is an orphan. It floats alone in the dark gap between Mars and Jupiter. It is too small to hold onto its primordial heat. It formed 4.5 billion years ago. That creates a very simple timeline. It should have cooled, crusted over, and frozen solid shortly after the solar system was born. It should be a fossil, a snapshot of the early universe that hasn't changed since the dinosaurs looked up at the night sky. So when NASA's Dawn spacecraft arrived in 2015, scientists expected a cratered moonscape. They expected silence. Instead, they looked down at a crater called Okator, and they saw something that looked impossible. They saw headlights staring back at them. The internet, predictably, went wild. Was it an alien city? A crashed ship? A secret base reflecting the sun? But the truth turned out to be chemically colder and geologically stranger than aliens. Those lights aren't electricity. They are scars. Dawn's spectrometers analyzed the light and found the signature of hydrated sodium carbonate. In plain English, it's salt, but not just any salt. On Earth, this specific chemistry usually forms in hydrothermal vents, places where hot water reacts with rock deep underwater. This changed everything. If this salt had been sitting there for billions of years, the radiation of space would have darkened it. It would be gray. The fact that it is bright white means it is fresh. Think of Ceres like a cosmic geode. On the outside, it looks like a rough gray stone. But if you crack the shell, you don't find rock. You find a sparkling, briny slush. The planet is leaking. Somewhere beneath that frozen crust, there is a reservoir of salty water that refuses to freeze. And recently, very recently, it punched through the surface, boiled away into the vacuum, and left this bright white scab behind. It was the first sign that the patient in the morgue was still breathing. But the salt was just the beginning. As Dawn mapped the rest of the planet, it found something else that shouldn't exist. On Earth, volcanoes appear in chains, tracing the edges of tectonic plates. The Ring of Fire, the Hawaiian chain, they tell a story of a moving, active crust. On Ceres, there is only one, Ahuna Mons, a lonely mountain rising 4 kilometers into the black sky. That's half the height of Everest, sitting on a world the size of Texas. This isn't a volcano of fire. It's a cryovolcano. It didn't erupt magma. It erupted mud, a thick freezing slurry of brine, rock, and ammonia that oozed out of the ground like toothpaste, piled up and froze instantly in the vacuum. This is forensic evidence of a geological impossibility. For this mountain to exist, Ceres needs an internal engine. It needs enough heat to melt ice into mud and push it 4 kilometers into the sky against gravity. But remember, Ceres is alone, no tidal squeezing, no nearby giant. So how is it doing this? It seems Ceres has loaded its water with ammonia and salts. Creating a natural antifreeze, it lowers the freezing point just enough that the planet can exist in a state between life and death. It's not quite a liquid ocean world like Europa, and it's not a solid rock like the Moon. It is a slush ball, a muddy, semi-frozen suspension that can still, occasionally, wake up and rearrange its face. This leads us to a disturbing classification. Astronomers have started calling worlds like this zombie worlds, or more politely, fossil ocean worlds. Ceres isn't fully alive, bubbling with energy and heat, but it's not dead. It is in a coma. Billions of years ago, it likely had a global ocean. It might have been warm. It might have had the chemistry for life, but as its radioactive fuel ran out, the ocean began to thicken. It turned to slush, then to mud, then to ice. The bright spots and the mud mountain are the last gasps of a dying system. They are the final twitches of a body that is slowly losing its battle against the cold. But here is the twist. Because it is freezing so slowly that subsurface slush might still be liquid today. There could be pockets of water down there, trapped in the dark, loaded with organic chemistry, protected by 40 kilometers of ice. It is a suspended animation chamber. If life ever started on Ceres, it hasn't been destroyed. It has been entombed, locked in a global freezer, waiting for a thaw that will never come. And this is where the story of Ceres becomes a warning. As we look for life in the universe, we look for water. We look for the Goldilocks zone. We look for the right reflection of light. From a distance, Ceres checks a lot of boxes. It has water. It has organics. It has heat signatures. If we saw a world like this orbiting another star, we might celebrate. We might declare it a candidate for life. But we would be looking at a trap. We would be looking at a world that is chemically perfect, but energetically dead. A world where the ingredients are all in the bowl, but nobody turned on the oven. Ceres teaches us that the line between a living world and a dead rock is blurrier than we thought. The universe is full of ghosts. There are worlds out there that are not quite alive, but refuse to die. Zombie planets holding onto their oceans in the dark, tricking us with their lights. And we are just starting to learn how to spot them. If you want to explore the graveyard with me, make sure you're subscribed. I'll see you in the dark.